and across California. So right there, it did a little bit, but then it stopped again, stopped again, stopped again. But if you look down over Texas, so this is one of the things that's affecting your air right now in Texas. So in Canada, there are these massive wildfires, and they've been going all summer in different areas. So this is kind of where they are. You can see this province right now, British Columbia, has these huge wildfires. And then over here, this looks like wildfires, but when you really zoom in, you see all these different aerosols going over the top of the smoke. You see all that? And that makes the smoke really toxic. Can you see these lines? Ooh. Shit. Hey Siri, call Julian.
Calling Julian, THC radio.
Nikki.
Hey, what happened?
I don't know. I was talking to you. I heard you try to call me. So we've been live the whole time. So hold on, let me see something. So A, B, C, D, E, M, N, O, P, Q, R. Could you hear me do all of my alphabet?
No, it cut off.
Okay, cool. So I just realized, because I cut myself off, my camera off, and it also cuts off my mic.
Oh.
I was over here talking back to you like, yeah, I can see that. You couldn't hear me though.
Oh.
Okay, so let's go back. Let's get started. But I'm watching though, and I'll chime in from time to time and say something. So you want to share your screen again?
Yeah, sorry. Okay. Now, are we live right now? I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no, don't be sorry. Yeah, we're live though. Well, YouTube too. I sent you the link.
Oh, good. Okay, so we'll go back to NASA Worldview now. Here we go. Okay. So what's happening in British Columbia? Now this is on September 2nd. We're kind of talking about those wildfires. So we're gonna cover the scope of what happens with wildfires. So in British Columbia, around September 2nd, and this has been going back weeks. I'm just gonna start here so you guys can see. So British Columbia has these big fires, and when you zoom in, over here, the smoke is kind of coming over here as well. But when you really zoom in, you can see that over the top of the smoke are these big lines, these aerosol lines. And what they're doing is they're creating a cloud layer over the smoke. And they're spraying other extra toxic material over the smoke, and they're stopping. Naturally, if you have that many particulates from ash in the sky, it would create rain and it would cool the whole area off. But if you keep spraying nanomaterials over it, those clouds don't form. Those natural clouds don't form. Okay, so this is September 2nd, and I'm going to zoom out so you can see how they steer this down to the southern states. Now here you are in Texas. So that's they've already started pushing it down. They're pushing it over the northern states here, which already have their own issues with wildfires. And then this is September 4th, and by September 5th, they've pushed this all the way down to the southern states over here. You can see the smoke all the way over here, thousands of miles of smoke, and yet no real clouds giving any sort of precipitation. And if you zoom in, the whole area from like from Baja, California, all the way over to Texas, all of this is old aerosol that has turned into clouds, into what they define as homogeneous or man-made clouds. So you were getting the smoke, but you're also getting a bunch of toxic spray, aerosol spray within this as well. Now this was on the 5th, and you can see some of these other, if you really kind of zoom in a little bit more, you can see some of the newer trails and then the older trails that have spread out into this mass. So your air quality is terrible there. Now, if you look on a regular US federal air quality map, they'll say, oh, it's bad, but it's not that bad. But they're only checking down to, I think, 2.5 microns, which is a way larger particulate than a tiny, tiny nanomaterial that they're spraying out of the freaking planes. So this is a really big issue. And then the next day, they just engineered this massive, funky, horrid cloud layer for you. So a lot of this whole cloud layer is very unnatural. It's mostly alto cirrus, an engineered alto cirrus, not a natural alto cirrus. But this is all across Texas. And then by the 7th, you can see, they're just kind of targeting your state right here, a little bit of Oklahoma. And then by the 9th, it's just West Texas that they're doing. And we're going to be talking a little bit later about wildfires and how these aerosols really, really impact wildfires, and how you can steer all of the moisture to one area and then release it. So you can cause massive flooding. You can also direct wind and things like that. And then this was yesterday. Today's map is not up yet. They were having problems with today's map. But they'll steer with aerosols, and then they'll also steer using Doppler and NexRad systems kind of together to move and steer and read atmospheric systems. And then you have little islands like this one, which I think, Julian, didn't we cover this island in an earlier broadcast? But for people,
which one?
This little island off the coast of Mexico, when we did our earlier geoengineering.
What's the name of it?
The name of the island is I can't remember, but the U.S. has a military base on it, I think, at the north end of the island. And sometimes if you zoom in enough, it tells you. But so the U.S. has a military base on this little inland island in the Sea of Cortez, and it works with this and a system. All of this is militarized for weather modification, and we can show as well. So let's go back a little bit, and let's go back to maybe August 20th. So we're gonna mix in one little hurricane project just so you guys can kind of see.
Okay. And
then later on, we can go even to the Texas hurricanes and then wildfires and stuff too. Does that sound good?
That sounds good. Oh, sure.
Okay. So when you spray aerosols in the atmosphere that are not natural clouds, they'll break up the natural clouds, and like putting a fork in the microwave, if you put a fork in a microwave and you turn the microwave on, you get all these sparks. Now, if there's water in there as well, it's going to have a huge effect on the water. So atmospheric moisture can be moved around with satellites and ground-based systems. So there's a tiny little island way down here in Baja, and just off of Cabo, and then there's this one here. See a lot of footprints, or what would be considered footprints or frequency results from weather modification. Now, there was a Hurricane Kiko had gone through the southern Pacific, and they had first forecasted it, I think on the 28th of August. So let's go back to the 28th of August. Okay. So here's the 28th of August. Now Hawaii is way out in the middle of the Pacific over here. So because it's on the equator, most of the weather in the northern hemisphere goes from west to east, and in the southern hemisphere, it's supposed to go from east to west, but it doesn't anymore because of all of the geoengineering, but we still get west to east systems along the equator. So down here, just below southern Mexico, is where we're going to be starting to look. So this is August 28th, and they had already forecasted a hurricane here, but what do you see out here? You just see this big funky mess, right? Massive clouds. But around the little island, you see almost a perfectly squared off
Like a little
perfectly.
block, a shield
Yeah.
or something.
And this is, you know, not quite a right angle, but that lets you know, they can really control systems. So if you want to push something, so this had already started, but it was just sitting there. So when I went to the map, I was like, oh, I wonder, what they're doing with that. But what they were doing is they're applying pressure so it doesn't go too far north into the U.S. to cool off the southern states or Baja. So here comes the storm. Now it's forming right here. Now this is going to be coming out to Hawaii. When you have a natural tropical storm, there shouldn't be clouds around it. Those clouds around it means that the air is cool. It's when you get that big convective swirly hurricane that tells you that it's a natural hurricane. So that's August 3rd. August 31st, it's starting to form down here. And you see that this is still very active. Like up here, the weather's still going west to east, but the cloud layer is just sitting there because this little island and this little island and this one are controlling the system, pushing everything down. I mean,
Now, what area?
visibly.
What area? What is it? Split?
Oh, so the little island off of Baja.
Baja.
Yeah. So this is Baja, California. And they call this the Gulf of California, but it's actually the Gulf of Mexico. It was renamed by the pumpkin face asshole. It's still Baja, not the Gulf of California. So on the 31st, whoops. Here's Hawaii over here. So they've already started to pull the system together. But on September 1st, it barely moved. So I'm going to go back. This is August 31st, and then barely moved on September 1st. And then they start moving it. So here's September 2nd, September 3rd. It now has a little eye, the eye of the hurricane. But around it, it's very hazy and it's very dark. So they're probably trying to intensify it with what's called carbon black. So by the 4th, it's moving a little bit, but still moving very slowly. And it was a Category 4 hurricane, so it was already intense when it was tiny. So there's the 5th, and here's the 6th, and you could see that the trajectory was bringing it towards Hawaii. Now there's no opposing system, so it should really go in and take Hawaii out. So that's the 6th. And then by the 7th, it has this weird long tail, and the eye has almost completely disappeared. You don't see the eye of the hurricane anymore. And then here it is on the 8th. So it broke up. And then by the 9th, it had kind of reformed, but is past Hawaii. And then this looks like a little bit of a moisture release. This is a very shadowed area right here without the rest of it being shadowed. So this could be like a big cumulonimbus or something that they're just trying to release the water out of. So that was yesterday. Today's the 10th, and this part of the map is not up yet. So
what the hell are they doing?
So they're manipulating all of the systems. That's only part of what they're doing. So this is September 9th. But let's kind of go back to these.
Why?
Oh, why? Because there's weather warfare going on right now between the major geo-warfare countries.
Who are those?
The U.S., Russia, Israel, and China.
So they rather than. So what the hell was a Cold War? Let me ask a question real quick. What's the Cold War?
I don't know much about the Cold War.
Okay.
I mean, almost all wars are for resources, and control of resources or resource trading. We're never really told the real reasons behind them, and even with like 9/11, that was a full-blown inside job. We knew where. Well, the federal government knew where Osama bin Laden was the entire time. And it wasn't until the end that when they went to get him, and it's very unlikely that they killed him. They wouldn't show us that they had actually killed him, and then he got a holy burial at sea, where when we went after Saddam Hussein, who had nothing to do with 9/11, it was a very public event, and the trials were public, the killing, the murdering of him was public, and same thing in Libya.
So you think he's still alive?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are still alive. I think Epstein is still alive. Yeah. Yeah. But a lot of things are happening.
You think Epstein is? You
What's
think
that?
Epstein's still alive?
Oh yeah, okay. Epstein is very much alive. When they showed him, when they had the photographers in there taking him out of the cell, the photographers were there and they took pictures of him. Now he was on his back on a gurney, and his profile was completely different than him, who he is, because it was a side profile. He's laying back. And whenever you take a body out of an area and you go to a public area, you cover the body or you put it in a body bag. But they did that so that the media would say, "Oh, here he is. He's dead." You know. I can't hear you anymore.
Okay. I'm learning, y'all. I'm learning. I was trying to put Nikki on screen. So sometime when I put you on screen, y'all don't worry about it. I got it. I'm working on it. I got it. Okay. So who else, Nikki? Who else you think still alive? Oh, and this is allegedly for all YouTube purposes. I mean, not YouTube purposes, shit, for entertainment purposes. So this is allegedly, but Nikki's smart as hell. Who else you think is still alive, Nikki?
Well, yeah, I think a lot of people think he's still alive. And the Bush family is friends with the Bin Laden family, which is why they let the Bin Laden family leave when all the other planes were grounded. So no one ever saw the body except for the military. And, you know, if they went in and killed him, it should have been made public. It just wasn't. It wasn't.
It's like this guy did all this bad stuff, and when we finally found him, we take your word for it. You don't show us that we found him. You know, he's gone and shit. Yes, and he's super powerful. So even though he was a bad guy, allegedly he's super powerful. So he had money and all of that, and his family was connected, right?
Yes, and he's a big part of the Illuminati, and he being Epstein, not Bin Laden. He's part of the Baal, I think it's called Baal, which is the satanic
cabal.
Cabal. No, a cabal is a group. I think is it Baal, Baal. Anyway, it's a group of really toxic people, and it's generally the elites. But anyway, that's just a personal opinion. So,
okay, cool.
So the what's been happening right now is generation of the generation or the making and the continuance of geo warfare. So between the 5G technologies, applying frequencies across the world, around the world, to every living thing, including humans, and then destroying the ecosystems that keep life on the planet going and that help us produce our food, that's a big deal. In the summertime, they did use flooding in Texas, but wildfires on September 5th, you guys had that big, huge assault on the entire state, but that wasn't the only time. That just
like
happened.
The other day, we had what?
You had that massive spray. When I had the map out, I showed how the smoke came down, and then over the top of that smoke, they were spraying aerosols. So So when they have a storm layer or a smoke layer, they'll spray a different aerosol. Apparently it's a different aerosol because the skies are much darker the next day, whether you have a full-blown rain event and you should have stellar stars, or even when the smoke smell is completely gone from the fire. If they do an aerosol dump over the top of it, the sky will stay dark and people think that it's smoke, but it's actually not. It's the aerosols from the fire, because we know our nose will pick up wildfire smells. If you've ever been to a real campfire, you know that there's that smell. Are you still there? Are you still there? Hello? Okay, we are experiencing technical difficulties right now.
You couldn't hear me?
Nope.
Oh, damn. And I said some profound shit too. Let me see if I can back it up. So the other day I was coming home and I noticed it looked like I have my DJ fog machine, right? So if I were to multiply it by 1,000 and put it in the sky, that's what it looked like. Just like big globs of smoke. Yep. Everywhere else was blue. Just big globs of smoke.
And could you smell any smoke, or was it?
No, I couldn't. No.
Yeah.
So and it didn't look like smoke because it wasn't. It didn't have like. It wasn't dissipating like smoke. If that makes sense, it looked more physical than gassy, kinda. If that makes sense. While I was in that big clump.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Was that near Dallas?
Yeah, hell yeah, in Arlington, right over Arlington.
Oh, okay, okay, yeah. Texas, the Texas governor Abbott, on the 13th, he issued a disaster declaration in Texas for about 190 plus counties. Now, in that issuance, he said that I'm going to read this from the website. He said the Texas counties face imminent threat of widespread or severe damage, injury, or loss of life. And this is due to what he thought would be the forecasted weather conditions. And then he went on to say, although most of the state has seen some measurable rain in the past 30 days, it's been 2 to 3 weeks since any significant rain events have happened in South Central Texas and pockets along the Red River in Northeast Texas. Now, Texas has a weather modification group called TDLR, the Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation. And they work with an ag guy. He might still be there. He was there for years and years. His name is Sid Miller. And he's the Texas Ag Commissioner, something like that.
Okay.
And we met with him, or I spoke with him at what's the Texas X event I met you at? The Earth X. Earth X event in Texas, yeah. So I met him at what's called Half X, which they have in between the yearly Earth X events. And I said, you know, geoengineering is happening over the state. It's having a huge impact on livestock and farms and, of course, the communities. And that's in the state and also along the Gulf Coast. And I said, can I set up a meeting with you and talk to you about geoengineering and then also how you can counter it with some weather modification technologies, because people think they're the same thing, but they're not. One is used mostly for warfare and capitalism, not good capitalism, disaster capitalism. And then the other one you can sometimes use if it's an advanced technology to intervene. Most of Texas weather modification, I think, is simple cloud seeding, which isn't great because you can cause flooding. But the floods in Texas were not caused from cloud seeding. Even though they were cloud seeding, it was caused from geoengineering, where they masked the moisture and then dumped it. So completely different, two different things. So anyway, this he's like a little garden gnome, you know, little round things with the red faces and little tiny hands. So I met with him, except for he wears a big like 10-gallon hat, so kind of an Elmer Fudd gnome. And met with him, and he was very casual about it. And he goes, "Oh, I find it really hard to believe that you have an advanced technology that can fight this." So he didn't want to get into it at all. But Abbott knows about weather modification and very likely knows about geoengineering because your state is really targeted. But the governors of most are controlled by their parties, Republican and Democrat, which are actually two heads on the same snake.
Right.
And even though Texas A&M does weather modification programs and project and resources, and they're not the only university in Texas that does this, and they're very familiar with geoengineering and things like that, the governors of Texas won't ever discuss these issues. The governor of Florida knows about it. He won't talk about it, even though they're going to be targeted very soon.
Does he already know?
Does
think he knows? Do you?
Are you talking about DeSantis, or what's his name? Who's the governor?
Yeah, whoever the governor is.
Yeah.
You think he knows it's coming?
Oh, very likely. Yeah, because they're all disaster capitalists. They're very, very controlled. And you'll see them talking to one party about an issue and then talk to another party about something completely opposite, just like what Trump does, the stuff that media puts out on Trump. You know, Trump talking about stopping the big pharma ads and doing all kinds of stuff like that, and saying that Operation Warp Speed might have been a mistake. Well, he knew it was a mistake because he's designed
he said that? He actually said that?
Yeah, so the other day, I don't know if it was yesterday or the day before, he posted that he's going to, you know, really work to take down false advertising with big pharma. But he's a major investor, or a large investor, probably not as big as like Bezos and Gates and others, but he's a big investor in Pfizer and Johnson & Johnson, GlaxoSmithKline, and Gilead, which was killing everyone in the hospital. So when he did Operation Warp Speed, he put one of the old CEOs of GlaxoSmithKline in charge of the pandemic in Operation Warp Speed, along with one of his military tools.
And now he's talking about, well, shit. Even though he's still invested, he already made a shit ton of money. So
yeah, made tons of money.
He can say, okay, I'll turn it off now. You know, yeah, maybe it was a mistake. Still keep some of his base or whatever, however it goes.
Yeah, so he'll pretend all along the way that he's doing something for you and then not do it. Like we just bombed a region of Qatar, and Qatar was the country that gave him the $400 million presidential jet after he's president. So
now say it again.
Imagine, what's that?
You said what now?
Oh, so Qatar, Qatar.
Qatar, yeah.
Yeah, Qatar. I don't think there's a U in Qatar.
No, Qatar.
Okay.
Wait. Yeah, Qatar.
So Qatar gave him that $400 million jet about 2 months ago, 2 or 3 months ago.
$400 million jet.
Yes.
Shit.
And so Israel, who the United States funds, just bombed Qatar. So it was like a day or so ago. So Trump is kind of backpedaling, saying, "Oh, I didn't know it was going to happen," and blah blah. But of course he does. He's a Zionist, and we're giving our money to the state, and he's not really in control. He's more of a cheerleader for the elites, and then he gets all these undereducated, maybe not undereducated, but people who believe billionaires because they think that a billionaire is smarter than them. So you get a billionaire up there saying, I'm all about freedom and we're going to bring money to the US and we're going to keep everything here and we're going to start building bigger and better. And it's the same lie as the build back better American like Democrat thing. There's really no difference. You get these people to follow you because you pretend like you're on their side, but how many years was Trump a Democrat before he ran for president? It was like 20 years, wasn't he? Something like that.
Forever.
So for a really long time. So kind of going back to what happened and what will happen in Texas. So getting rid of private landholders as we get closer to the Great Reset, Agenda 2030, where they put people in cities and completely control them through electromagnetics, through 5G systems and smart technologies. Getting them there means you have to take away all of their freedoms. Now, when you own land, you're more free to do stuff on it. And one of the big land grabs that occurred was just after the pandemic, because so many people lost their jobs. They also lost homes, and the homeless populations exploded. But with land grabs, 95% or so of Texas is privately owned. So it's the largest mass of land in the US, I think. I'm not sure about Alaska, but in the continental base US, that's privately owned. They don't want you to have it. So they're going to do everything they can, hurricanes, wildfires, flooding. They're going to try to get rid of private ownership and provide as much stress or inflict as much stress and distress as they can on Texas to be able to control other states. Now, Texas is a leading Republican state, but the Republicans don't realize that, Trump isn't on their side. He's on the money side. And most billionaires are. But would you like to see like a little bit of a wildfire presentation so people can see more about how wildfires and hurricanes created and engineered? Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm going to share the screen now. I don't know if this...
You share it?
I'm trying to find... I apologize. It's going to take a second.
Oh, no, you're good. Go ahead.
Let me put stuff on it. Here we go. Okay. So let's see if this works. Window. Oh, it's not letting me. Could you tell me how I could share a keynote presentation on here?
A keynote presentation. So when you go to share, what options does it have?
It says Brave tab, window, and entire screen.
So you go to window and then select presentation.
Sorry. Say that again.
Oh, go to window.
Okay.
And then you should be able to select the window your presentation is in, maybe.
Okay, let me see if this lets me. Oh. Window. It says unable to share screen. Please update system's permission. So we don't have to do that. That's okay. What we can do is we'll go back to NASA Worldview and I'll show you some of the wildfires. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know why you couldn't share. We'll fix that, y'all.
Okay. So we're going to come to NASA Worldview real quick. So We'll go to 2007 real quick. And this
Cool.
is when they really first started engineering earthquakes. I mean, wildfires. September. So 2007 across the U.S. was one of the biggest wildfire years in history.
2007.
In 2007, yeah.
Okay.
So, so if you look down in the lower left-hand corner, this is 2007. So we'll do 2007, then we'll kind of jump forward to today and what's happening with these wildfires. Let's go to May. So here we are in May, and this is back when over the U.S. back in 2007, they had really just started doing engineering over, or started intensifying geoengineering over different parts of the country. And look over here in the ocean where it's open. See this really dark blue color? You don't see that on today's NASA worldview. It's really a lot more hazy.
Okay.
And so over the ocean, so we got a lot of weather going west to east, and then in Texas you have some of the stuff coming up from the Gulf. But out over the ocean, they do massive aerosols, not just with airplanes, but with transoceanic, these massive boats, these industrial boats. And so these lines right here are called ship tracks. And instead of blowing aerosols from planes, you see this almost near grid pattern right here. Can you see that?
Mm-hmm.
So those are from ships laying tracks, as opposed to this. These are airplanes that have made aerosols that now turned into this new cloud type called homogeneous that we see today when the aerosols kind of spread out. So two different things. So here we are, and it's May, and I'm just going to start scrolling through these, and you see how the clouds only come up to the edge of the West Coast?
Yeah.
And then they stop. So once you engineer those aerosols and you metallicize them, you can use transmitters along the coast or inland or from satellites to keep that moisture from going in and across the US. So that's May 10th, 11th. Now they're doing a heavy aerosol geoengineering. So this was one of the first big, massive aerosol sprays that they did. And you can see it goes up through Oregon and then up across here and right across Washington. And then it actually also goes through Idaho. And every cloud that you see here is the result of an aerosol that's spreading into a massive cloud layer. So, and this is just regular jet travel. You don't see the planes because the planes are moving faster. The aerosols sit there and spread so you can pick them up on satellite. So we're still in May. They're doing a lot of spraying here in this area and some spraying over in Texas. So you had these odd little new clouds, new cirrus clouds forming that you didn't have prior to, not very often prior to 2001. But we'll start here and then we'll go to the Texas stuff. So this is May 12th. And then on the 13th, they've cleared out this area again, 13, 14. They're spraying more up here, and then they're spraying up here because they want to burn out this area, very likely for mining, but they're also clearing a lot of other areas out throughout this summer. So there's a bunch of wildfires in Arizona and New Mexico as well, and you guys had some wildfires in Texas in 2007 as well. But this gives you a very open way to see it. Now here's a bunch of north-south vertical aerosols. So they're really gearing up for a full summer of wildfire. So these are things you can see. This big mass over here goes from New Mexico over to Oklahoma.
I wish someone would take the flight logs or the whatever the hell they call them and overlay that over those aerosol tracks. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like
You can
somebody,
also do.
here's the picture, that's the aftermath, and this is the path those planes were flying. You know what I'm saying? And put it on top of each other. because they'll be right on top of each other. It'll help people see.
So,
Because,
yeah, and next time, if we get the worldview working, we can show you a video from the ground above a wildfire of the aerosols going over and over and over the area. So now we're in mid-May, and they're doing a massive aerosol project here in northern Arizona, New Mexico, North Texas, and Oklahoma.
Yeah, fair use with entertainment purposes. Fair use. Okay, keep going, Nikki. Sorry.
Oh, okay. And then over here, they're doing a lot of aerosols over Northern California and then this northeast part of the state. Now, if you get really close, you see these scalar patterns. See these wavy, these linear wavy lines. Once you have a massive cloud layer and you apply frequency, you can get that scalar cloud cover. And we never saw those as kids ever. Never. I never did. And then, you know, after 9/11, I saw them a lot more. But it wasn't until around 2009 or 10 that they became a lot more prevalent. Now, I was in 2007, I was living down here in Lake Tahoe.
Okay.
And we had a natural wildfire. It wasn't natural. A guy left a campfire going. So we had a wildfire that lasted about a week. But that's very different than this area. Not that they hadn't been prepping. So there's more scalar stuff going on right now. And they're bringing this mass of aerosol down even further over these northern states. So all these vertical lines, clouds don't go for 150 miles or 200 or 1,000 miles. Clouds don't do that because there's different topography. There's different elevations. That's what topography is. Okay. There's also different regions. You have desert regions, forest regions. All these things affect natural weather. So you never should have a cloud going straight across 14 different freaking states. You just shouldn't have anything going straight across. Now, they're already starting to block the moisture. And so we're going to kind of fast forward through May. So here we are in June. So here are some really heavy aerosols, and then they're up here. So we're at the end of May, and here we go into June. They're going to really start blocking all of the moisture in the Pacific. So you'll see a lot of stoppage right along this coastline. So there's already wildfires here going across the US. And they did another massive ship tracking project over here to reinforce the toxins in the environment. Now, you can have a natural condensation trail coming out of an airplane, out of a plane, but you're generally not going to have it coming out of a ship. And the reason you'd have it coming out of a plane is once you're up above, 35, 40,000 feet, if the temperature is minus 40 degrees and the humidity levels are above 70%, you can make, the fuel is going to come out of the engine and make a tiny contrail that's maybe 2 or 3 plane lengths, but it will disappear as you're moving forward. Like when you're talking and it's cold outside and it's humid and you're talking and you see your breath, it doesn't follow you around the corner if you're talking and walking around the corner. But anyway, it's the middle of summer. You see obvious ship tracks here. Now they are really prepping this area, probably because there's good mining, good mineral access in Idaho and Oregon and all these other countries. So we're going into June. Here's June 1st. There's more aerosolization. The fires have already started, a couple in Oregon, and then the Idaho fires. Scoot forward till we can see them. Come on. Here we go. So now there are fires all throughout Oregon. You see all these fires that have started in Oregon, all these different little wildfires. I bypassed, let's go see if the Lake Tahoe one is. Yeah, you can't really see the Tahoe wildfire. I thought it was on the 7th. Anyway, so we've got a full blocking of moisture out in the Pacific. So now they're going to be spraying over the Idaho area. And we'll be able to see the smoke in a second. So here we go. So you've got these fires going. Oh, come on. Maybe I should zoom out. Come on, Idaho. I thought it was early in the year, or early in the season. I guess it was later. July, August. Sorry, I have the exact dates on my presentation, so I'm kind of going from memory right now. So July. Was it August? I apologize, everybody.
You're good. Go ahead. You're good.
I don't memorize every date for every single thing. So here we go. Idaho wildfires are starting. The Oregon ones are still kind of going throughout July. And now they're really getting started. So they prepped the area with aerosols for a long time, and then they got these fires going. So they built up the area, and here I'm going to scoot back a little bit. So blocking this moisture and really getting these northern wildfires going. You can see the smoke goes all the way across the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry for that 5-minute delay. I totally Okay, so here we have over the ocean, and again, this is the middle of summer. This should all be relatively clear. You don't have a massive cloud layer, but these are not natural clouds. So they're holding back the moisture, and they're also not letting the area cool, because when you have an engineered cloud layer over the ocean versus a natural one, which at night, a natural cloud layer breaks up and allows the heat from the ocean to escape back into space, you can exacerbate the heat index as well.
Okay.
So here we have Idaho with these huge wildfires, and they're going to be burning. We're going to kind of move through these. So the wildfires are still going. They're still going. Now, these are very intense wildfires, and because of their size, right now they should be creating their own what's called a pyrocumulonimbus, which is a natural, it's like a thunder shower cloud. So when it's really hot and you're outside in natural weather and you're in a farmland or an area that's moist on the ground like Texas, you should have beautiful flat-based billowy white cumulus clouds rolling across the sky.
Okay.
And then when it's really hot, those clouds will build up and become what's called a cumulonimbus or a thunderhead. You've seen those, Yeah.
Right.
So when those things tower, when those little clouds grow into these big, huge clouds, they get up into the upper atmosphere, and they're gathering dust and moisture the whole time. And eventually they become so saturated that they release moisture. So you have afternoon thunder showers and into the evening sometimes, and they cool the area off and they bring moisture. And with fires, the same thing happens in the atmosphere. You start with a billowy fire cloud, and that's called a pyrocumulus cloud, a big fire cloud. Okay. And in nature has put wildfires out, massive wildfires out for a billion years, whatever, how recent forests and plants have been around. So it becomes big as well because it grows. That ash cloud grows, and ash is not an extremely fine particle, it's a larger particle. So it grabs a lot of water. And as it builds up, it becomes a pyrocumulonimbus. Pyro just means fire, a fire cumulonimbus cloud. And it's gathering this moisture from the upper atmosphere. And then what happens is the wind's pushing it, it starts raining out, and it rains ahead of the fire and drops the temperature and puts moisture on the ground. So by the time the fire gets there, a mile or 2 miles out or whatever, sometimes directly over the fire, if it's not really windy, the fires go out. And it's nature's way of taking care of itself. Nature maintains homeostasis, it maintains balance. So here we are, and there were 70,000 wildland fires in 2007. I'm just showing you this particular one. So This is August 13th. It's still going. Now, eventually, it starts to waver, but they want to keep it going. So out here in the Pacific, you got massive cloud building going on with these ship tracks. And so by the time September or late August hits, here we go. So you got ship tracks here, and then over Idaho, it's really starting to go out. So they're starting to spray again, because the nanomaterial from geoengineering sprays contains nanoaluminum, which is an incendiary device. The US military uses it because it has a very low flash point. So it will keep a burning ember going and going and going. Plus, because we've been spraying it today for years, it's inside the plant. So the plants become very hyper explosive when it's a really hot wildfire. So Idaho is still burning, continues to burn. And then eventually they just go over and respray it. So this was a long, long wildfire. Let's go back there. So this right here is a massive dump. So this is a massive dump. This was back then, this picture was taken earlier in the day, so they didn't show you the whole entire thing. But that's September 8th. And I think they had finally gone out later, but they had already started the fires. So here's a fire raging in Northern California outside of Redding. If you're familiar with geoengineering, you know that Dane Wigington from geoengineeringwatch.org, he's out here and he was completely covering these fires in 2007. And then by the time the Paradise Fire came along, he was covering that. He's got great information on his website about the engineered fires and things like that. But they just you know, they keep all of this going. Now these wildfires, with the more we do our engineering, the worse and worse these fires become. So if you're a disaster capitalist and you invest in climate change research and helping climate change, they are promoting geoengineering right now as something that helps protect the planet by blocking sunlight, even though we've been doing weather modification for over 70 years, and the military has been executing geoengineering itself for decades and decades. And then commercial geoengineering is now very popular. We show a couple of examples of commercial geoengineering, and then on our website we have links to all sorts of geoengineering groups and organizations. And there's a one organization called Agricultural Defense Coalition, and the founder of that, her name was Dr. Rosalind Peterson, and she was a USDA crop loss ag inspector, crop loss adjuster, ag inspector. And she didn't really believe in geoengineering, but she learned very quickly, because she was a government employee, that she had access to what the government was doing off the coast, off the West Coast. So it was also happening in other states and other regions, but she had access to that because she was a California focused crop loss adjuster. And her brother was the one, I think it was her brother, who told her initially about what geoengineering was. And when she found out what it was and the tools that they used and how it impacted soils and plants and plant growth, and how when you spray it long enough, it destroys the ozone layer, and that destroys plants and also humans, all life on Earth, because UVC radiation now comes in.
So she ended up believing it.
Oh yeah. And then she founded the Agricultural Defense Coalition, and that's a .org website. She passed away a couple of years ago, not from any real nefarious stuff. She was older and she had cancer, but she fought for a really long time. She's one of the original anti-geoengineering.
Original anti-who?
Anti-geoengineering leaders. She's one of the original ones. She's wonderful. There's a lot of great people who've worked for a very long time on different aspects of the geoengineering and IoT 5G technologies. And Ilana Freeland is another one. We can hopefully get her on the show. She'll talk about how geoengineering and 5G affect the transhumanistic agenda, which is the AI integration. So getting people to willingly sacrifice or willingly give their bodies to these corporations that want to take us over through injections things that have the nanomaterial that runs through computers and AI. Because most people, everybody, in fact, who's taken a non-placebo shot vaccine now reads a MAC address. You can read their MAC address on Bluetooth.
It leaves a MAC. Oh, humans do.
Humans
Is that what
do.
you're talking about, like our bodies? Yeah.
Yeah, because that material that was in the vaccines, and it's also they're also now using some of the what it's been tested shows nanographene as well, and so the nanographene impacts our physiology, but it also makes us more susceptible to the millimeter wave frequencies. So all kinds of fun stuff happening.
All right, we got like 10 minutes. What else we got, Nikki?
Oh, let's see. So did I send you the info on the Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg and Trump AI and pharmaceutical meeting? Did you get that yesterday?
No, let's go.
Oh my gosh. So
you can share it. You can share your screen if you need to.
Oh, is it letting me share the screen now?
Yeah, hell yeah. I think that was a like a PowerPoint or something that we were trying to share.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, but if you have a link, try to click the link and see if you can share it.
Oh, I was going to show you my, okay. Give me a second.
Wait a minute. Did I get it right?
Yeah, here. Here we go. All right. You can pull this up right now. Yahoo. Okay, so before we start this, I'm gonna sit just a little bit with something from Bill Gates.
Okay.
And so Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. They have an actual about section. And this is what they say they do. They say, guided by the belief that every life has equal value, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation works to help all people lead healthy, productive lives. In developing countries, they focus on improving people's health, and then they also give them a chance to lift themselves out of hunger and extreme poverty. So they target all people of color, whether it's India or Africa or in the U.S., any population, including indigenous, that doesn't have money. Now, Bill Gates is a huge investor in vaccines. A lot of your viewers might know this, but for those who don't, he started investing in vaccine decades ago. And I think around 2010, he started investing in Monsanto. And Monsanto is also Pfizer. So way back then, he was already, way before then, he was in pharmaceuticals and anything that would help depopulate the general public. And if you want to know a great history of his, you can go to the Corbett Report. They have a 4-part series, like 20 or 30 minutes each. Phenomenal shit on Gates. But so in 2010, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation pledged $10 billion into vaccine investments and research and stuff like that. And in 2019, in January, so 10 months before the pandemic, he was interviewed by CNBC, and he said, "My best investment turned $10 billion into $200 billion." So he was gearing up for this whole thing. He was the major funder for Event 201, which is the meeting that took place in October of 2019, just before the pandemic happened. And Event 201 was a pandemic exercise. So he hosted it with World Economic Forum and the Johns Hopkins University, who he's a big investor with. So they do all this stuff, and a lot of Republicans, not Republicans, don't know this. A lot of people who are in, not the Kiwanis. What's the social club that a lot of Republicans go into? It's not Kiwanis. Shit.
I don't know.
The Rotary Club.
Rotary, excuse me, Rotary Club.
Yeah, the Rotary Club is usually a bunch of Republicans, men and women now, a lot more women. But so what they do is they have these successful speakers come in, and then they have these lunches, and then they talk bullshit. But one of the things that the whole group does is the whole group helps fund Bill Gates's polio projects because they're told that it's really good. Now, in sometime around, let's see, what was this? Sometime just after the pandemic, Children's Health Defense had posted Bill Gates's, an overview on Bill Gates's investments and projects. So I'm going to read you like a little excerpt from polio vaccines. So this states, promising to eradicate polio with $1.2 billion, Gates took control of India's National Advisory Board, mandated 50 polio vaccines to every kid before age 5. Now, the doctors today blame Gates for vaccine strain polio that paralyzed almost 500,000 children between 2000 and 2017.
Mm-hmm.
So by 2017, the India government slowed the vaccine regime and evicted Gates and his partners from the National Advisory Board in India, right? So the WHO reluctantly admitted that the global polio explosion is predominantly from the vaccine strain that Gates made from his program. And by 2018, 3/4 of all global polio cases were from Bill Gates's Bill and Melinda Gates funded vaccines. Now that's just one thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he is very monstrous. So now I'll show you yesterday or 2 days ago. Now this is a post that was on X. So this is Bill Gates and all the sycophants, Trump has talking that they're really pushing, vaccines, and then they're going to also push the integration of AI in healthcare with the help of Mark Zuckerberg. So we can play both of these, but let me know right away if you can't hear it. I'll start it.
Okay.
Okay. So let's see. Share. Oh, where are you? Is this it? Yeah, here we go.
Can't hear it.
You can't hear it?
Uh-uh.
So if there's a share, nope. Dang. Anyway, he talks about how he helps people with polio and other diseases.
What is it's a link?
Yeah, let me give you this link and then you can post it.
Okay.
You can check it out.
I think, can you drop it in our chat?
I just did, so it should be there.
Ooh, got it.
Momentarily. So it's a pretty criminal enterprise, especially because Trump waffles and puts specific things on specific mainstream news feeds and specific things on his X. And I have no idea. It may not even be just Trump, but a Trump team that's putting out all this information, because your whole day would be filled if you have, the thousands of tweets that this guy has. And he can't read. He doesn't really read, which is why he videos.
Who can't read?
Donald Trump.
What?
So if you search Donald Trump can't read, or President Trump.
This is allegedly YouTube. What do you mean? He can't read.
So there's a bunch of stuff out. He might have a learning disability, which might be why he doesn't want to read. There's a lot of people who can't read who are very intelligent. It doesn't mean you're not intelligent if you can't read something. Some people have dyslexia.
I don't. Hey, try to share again. I could see you. Try that again.
Oh, try it again.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
sorry. um, here we go. Man, it's just a basic search engine. So it talks about, you know, reading aids, and this was just a fast search. You can be more concise if you wanna see. But you could go to the videos. There's also videos on him misreading, or for simple documents handed to him. You know, can you read this, Mr. Trump? Well, it's basically what it says. You know, he'll bypass instead of simply going, you know, this is blah blah blah. So it's just kind of
Wow.
you know, things.
He uses like 40 pens whenever he signs something. Do they all do that?
Oh, I have no idea. I don't know anything about those.
Boy.
So in and within Texas, if anybody, any of your readers want to, or any of your viewers or listeners want to attend a geoengineering presentation, we're going to be doing a Zoom, and it might be a single workshop Zoom or broken into 2 parts, and one part is specifically on smart technologies and the impact on farming and ranching. And we do cover in those, you know, some of the human health impacts. And then the second part is going to be geoengineering impacts on forests and fires. And we're going to cover all of the geoengineered weather systems and how they impact. So it's everything from flooding and hail to inducing droughts, creating and exacerbating wildfires and hurricanes and tornadoes. Also creating issues surrounding health, like, I don't know if you've ever heard of this term. It didn't start until I think 2008. It's called thunder snow, or thunderstorm, not thunder snow, sorry. Thunderstorm asthma. And thunderstorm asthma is something that they came up because they talk about bad weather and allergies and asthma attacks after thunderstorms. And it's such a ridiculous concept, because it'll happen to people that don't even have allergies or asthma.
What the fuck?
So it's usually them spraying some toxin over the top, just to make people sick.
And then they know that some people are going to have a reaction to it. They're going to be similar reactions, so they make up fucking thunderstorm asthma.
Yeah, and they'll blame it on things like pollen or dust or sand from the Saharas, which is just bullshit. I mean, even sand, when you break it down, is only quartz and biotite and feldspar, which are very natural things. We could eat them and inhale them, and you don't want to be in a big sandstorm.
Yeah.
But it's not going to cause any thunderstorm asthma. And in the Middle East, a couple of years ago, in one of the deserts that's along the coastline, surrounded by desert, almost no farming at all, they did an engineered thunderstorm asthma event, and everyone got sick. And so I pulled the map up, and I was like, there was like 2 acres of fields, and they blamed it on the whole. It was more than 2 acres, but there's no way it could have. There's no way it could have produced that much. It would have been a freaking miracle to have it create that much pollen. But a lot of things that come from geoengineering are now blamed on pollen. And you have to remember that we are in a mass extinction event, and plants are hugely impacted by geoengineering and 5G, and they're not producing nearly as much pollen or nectar or anything as they used to. Even trees. So what's that?
No, you say plants aren't because they're not real God-made plants anymore. They're GMO'd and shit.
Well, and that's a whole other issue. A whole other terrible thing that's going on. But we now have, you know, genetically engineered forests. Florida has had, for example, genetically engineered eucalyptus for over 20 years now, and they're planting genetically in forests and all sorts of other things. So these Illuminati people are way ahead of us.
Yeah.
And it would be really nice if the Maha, even, you know, I really appreciate the information Children's Health Defense puts out there, but I still think that RFK Jr. seems to be riding the fence.
Yeah.
He is not. He could be doing a million times more, really, truly exposing Bill Gates and geoengineering and 5G, because that's what his group has fought for this whole time. But he keeps, you know, and I understand the, you know, keep your friends close and keep your enemies closer thing. But really, man, we are 8th month of this presidency, right? 7 or 8 months into the presidency. Is that right?
Got that. What is this? This is the 8th
Almost
month.
half a year or so.
Month. He got inaugurated in what, January?
Yeah. So you know, doing basically nothing. Basically nothing. We still have as much geoengineering. 5G is rolling out at warp speed, as are all of the new vaccines that are coming out. Nobody has really stopped. There's not really much being done to stop the larger issues with mRNA and other vaccines, whether it's an aerosolized or injectable or skin stamp vaccine. They're all just moving forward like there's nothing in front of them. In fact, there's a wave of money following them while the whole ecosystem dies and bombing the crap out of poor innocent people and children.
Like we always say, you want to figure everything out, follow the money. Hey, we got to go, but can we talk about vaccines a lot next week?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you, Nikki. We're going to get back to the music, y'all. Nikki, how you like the new system real quick? The new like streaming, about the same?
Oh, it's very nice. Yeah, very nice. We gotta work the kinks.
Yeah,
you know?
Work the kinks. So go back and look at the YouTube, everybody. If you didn't watch it, we didn't have very many listeners because I didn't announce it. But hey, go back and take a look, and we will see y'all next week on World News Wednesday with DJ Suede and Nikki. Peace.